Hi there. So today I'm going to be talking about my classes and what the academic situation is like here on my study abroad. Um, so the first month I was here in Spain, I was doing a summer intensive course, and it was basically a semester-long course condensed into 1 month. It was a Spanish course. So it was 4 hours of classes every single day of the week for 3.5 weeks. And it was very intense, but I learned a ton. I had very good teachers. Um, but now my regular semester classes have begun, and we're about a month into those. And so I'm starting to feel like actually a normal student again, as opposed to when I was in that really crazy intensive course. I am taking 4 classes right now, which is less than what I normally take in the United States, but I wanted to have plenty of time if my classes were really hard since they're all taught in Spanish, and so that I would still have time to explore the city a ton. So the 4 classes that I'm taking are oral and written production in Spanish, translation from English to Spanish, Islamic culture in Spain, and Arabic language. So those are my 4 classes, and like I said, they're all taught in Spanish. So I'm really getting a lot of practice with the Spanish language, even outside of my oral and written production in Spanish class. Which that class is like your typical Spanish class that you'd take in the United States. Um, it's the only class that's required for me to take while I'm here during the semester for my program. And it pretty much is just going beyond the basics of grammar and vocabulary and has a focus more on making our speech and writing skills more fluent, more native, and more eloquent. My teacher is really fun, and we have this great textbook that has just dumb activities like personality quizzes and pick your favorite animal. But through that, we have a lot of practice just talking in Spanish, and we learn a lot of colloquialisms, which is really important. My translation class is definitely my favorite because translation is what I want to do when I get out of college. Um, the class is just giving me a really great insight into the industry standards and expectations, and I just think it's really fun. Then I have my Islamic culture in Spain class, and that's definitely my hardest. One, because I've pretty much learned all of this stuff in my intro to um, history of the Middle East class back at the U, so it's a little boring since I've already learned it all. But it's also really difficult because I have to relearn a bunch of vocabulary that I've learned adopted into English from the Arabic language, but now I have to learn the Spanish adaptations. So that's a little bit difficult. But overall, it's a good class and a good review of Islamic history. And then finally, there's my Arabic language class, which is taught in Spanish, which, yes, that does get really confusing sometimes. But I really love this class. Most of the time, we're just speaking in Arabic, as foreign language teachers often do, so there's not really any difference between me and the other students since we're all around the same level of Arabic. But sometimes our professor will try to explain a concept, and then she'll have to switch to Spanish to make sure we understand, and sometimes I get a little bit lost because she speaks very quickly, and so do all the other students. And if I have to ask a question and I can't get it out in Arabic and I have to use Spanish, then it gets really confusing because I I just have so much trouble trying to just talk in Spanish when my mind is in Arabic mode. If you've studied a foreign language in the past, then you or if you studied multiple foreign languages in the past, then you probably have experienced this, where when you're in your foreign language mindset, it's really hard to distinguish between the two languages that you know. But it's it actually may be my favorite class above translation because I'm just learning so much and it's fun to take a foreign language class taught in another foreign language. In general, I've found that classes in Spain don't differ much from the college classes I've taken in the US. It just depends on the teacher whether you have an engaging class or just a boring lecture for 2 hours, just like in the US. Some things that are different are that eating and drinking in class are not really acceptable, not even coffee, which really surprised me because people are always drinking coffee here. The classes are 2 hours, all of them, which is a lot longer than what I'm used to in the US, where it's usually 50 minutes or 100 minutes. Also here, there's very, very few assignments. Most of my classes are something like 60% participation and then 40% just the final exam, which means you don't really turn anything in, there's not any busy work. So it's a lot different than what I'm used to in the US, though I know there are some classes in some parts of the US that are like that too. Another difference is that here in Spain, a C grade is actually average, whereas, at least in my experience, in the US, a C is really bad, honestly, and you're expected to get really at least a B, if not an A, to have a good GPA. This is just my experience. But here, the teachers grade harder, so getting an A actually is exceptional. So that's a little bit different as well. By and by, I haven't had a lot of trouble adapting to the academic standards here because they're mostly pretty similar to the US. And I think it's so fun taking all my classes in Spain. And you should definitely study abroad because you'll learn so much. Okay, bye. See you next time.